Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Algo Trader. Sorry for the delay. Actually, I was very busy in other work, so I couldn't make video on time. My planning is at least to make video once a week, but I couldn't do it due to some urgent and busy work. Anyhow, let's start our second tutorial in Python. So today we are going to learn what are the data types, if-else conditions for while loops, and introduction to functions. Let's jump into the agenda. What are the data types? We'll see. And basic operators like plus, minus, equal, divide, etc. If-else condition. Let's say if some condition, do something, else some other condition, do something. And string operations. And we'll see what are while and for loops, how to use them in the code. Then we'll start with functions or methods. Yeah, the first thing is data types. So what is data type basically? So if you take any programming language, we have some basic elements, right? We call them as variables, and we store some data in each variable. The data can be of any type. For example, some number. The number can be some integer or some floating point number. What is integer? Let's say 1 to 3, 1000, 1 lakh, etc. And what is floating point number? The number that has decimal point is called floating point number. Let's say 100.05, 123.25. It has some decimal value, right? That is called float. And character. Character is nothing but any character like alphabet. A, B, C, or digit 1, 2, or you take some special characters like ampersand, star, parenthesis, etc. So each one is called a character. And some data can be of type string. String can be your name, okay? Or let's take some string trader. Yeah, it's a string. And array. What is array? Array is nothing but list of some objects, or let's say list of some integers, list of strings. So whatever it can be. Okay, now let's come to the code editor and see how the data types look like. I'm writing some code here. Let's say x equal to 100, y equal to 123.45. Okay, name equal to, let's say, Suhas. Here I have stored the number 100 inside variable x. So the data type of x will become an integer, right? And here 123.45, it's a floating point number because it has some decimal point, 0.45. I have stored this value inside variable y. Now the data type of y becomes float, right? Now I have stored the name Suhas inside variable name, okay? Now the data type of name is a string, and let's say some a equal, I want to store some whatever it may be, p. Here p is a just single character, okay? Or let's say you want to store 4. It's also single character. Or you want to store, let's say, star. So whatever it can be. So the data type of a will become a character. One thing to note, in Python we don't have any difference between character and string. A string with the length of 1 will become a character in Python. That's it. This is also a string basically, but the length of this string is just 1 because it has only one character, whereas here we have 5 characters, correct? Okay, let's try to print the type of each variable here. Python has a built-in function name type, okay? Let's write some code. Print the data type of x equal to comma type of x. You can just write like this. So what will be the output? So the string inside these codes will be printed as it is when you run the program, and the value of this, what is that, type of x, will be printed after that. Let's see and run the program. I'm saving the program. Run it. Python. Okay. See, the data type of x equal to some format it has printed. So basically you just need to concentrate on this part. So the data type of x is integer in this case. Okay. Let's try to print. I'm copying this, paste, data type of y. Similarly, Let's print data type of name. Sorry. Let's run the program. See, the data type of x equal to integer, the data type of y equal float, and the data type of name equal to str. If you try to print the data type of a here, where we just stored a single character in it, let's say, let's run the program again. See, the data type of a is also string here. So it's not character here. I told you, right, in Python, there is no differentiation between a character and a string. If a string has a single length character, generally that is treated as a character, but ideally it's a string only in Python. Okay. Now let's see another data type called array or list. So far what we store, right, in x, y, name, a. So this is a single data we stored here, right? Suppose you want to store multiple data, right? We have to have some different data type that is called list or array. Let's say I want to store some list of scores inside this variable scores. When you declare like this, square brackets, there is no data in it. It's a empty array or empty list. Now I'm going to fill this empty array with some data. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1000. If you print the data inside this code, let's say list of scores equal to the scores. I'm just printing the scores. Next, I'm also printing the data type. Okay. The data type of scores is, say, type of scores. I'm saving the file. Let's run the program. See, the list of scores equal to whatever we store the data, it just printed as it is. And the next line we printed the data type of score is list here. Okay. So it's a collection of data. Let's learn about another data type. We call it Boolean. A Boolean can have either true or false. Only two possible values are there. Let's say I'm declaring a variable is today, Sunday. No, right? I am assigning as false. Please note F is capital here. Is today, Monday. I am declaring another variable. Yes, true. Okay. If you want to print, you can just print is today, Sunday. Is today, Sunday. Similarly, you have is today, Monday. Is today, Monday. I'm saving it. I'm running the program. Python. See, is today Sunday? No, right? It's false. Is today Monday? True. Yes. So Boolean can have only two values, either false or true. We are done with the data types. I hope you understood. Now let's jump into the next topic. Operators. What are the operators we use in programming languages? There are different types. Arithmetic operators such as plus, minus, divide, modulo. Then comes comparison operators. When you want to compare two variables, x equal to y or x not equal to y, less than, greater than, such type of operators we call comparison operators. Then assignment operators, the basic one you know, equal, and there are some other operators, plus equal, minus equal. We'll see what are those. Then comes logical operators. If you have two conditions, let's say x equal to y and a equal to b, you want to combine two conditions with operator and or, right? Then comes membership operators. We use these operators especially while dealing with array. You want to check whether some element exists in an array or not. Then we use, let's say, x is in some list or array. X is not in some list or array. And we call those as membership operators. We also know about some operator precedence. I'll explain while writing the code what is operator precedence here. Let's jump into the code. Okay, let's see how to use operators while writing the code. I'm just cleaning up all the code here. I'm saving this file. Now the file is empty. First we'll see what are arithmetic operators. Then assignment operators. Then we'll see operator precedence. Comparison operators, membership operators we'll see after the next slide. because there is some dependency. Before explaining those operators, I need to explain if else condition. Thereafter, I will tell you about other operators. For now, we will learn about these three. Okay, I think I forgot to tell you one thing. So whatever you write in Python with the starting letter as hash, that line will be treated as comment. That means this line is not considered by the runtime environment when we run the program. So you want to write some comments like notes. Okay, you wrote some logic and you may forget what exactly you have written there, right? So you can write some comment for future reference, and the comments can be written like starting with hash, and whatever you write after hash, that line will not be considered while running the program. Okay, what are the arithmetic operators? Let's say we have some variable x equal 10, y equal 20. We are going to add these two variables. Let's say z equal to x plus y. Here plus is an arithmetic operator. The variables on each side of operator is called operands. So in this case, x and y are operands. Let me write x and y are operands and plus is an operator. Okay. Similarly, you can have some p equal to x minus y. Here minus is an arithmetic operator. You can have multiplication operator, or you can have x divided by y, or you can also have x percentage y. So what is this percentage exactly? This percentage is called modulo operator. What does it mean? For simplicity, let's reassign the value of x and y as 5 and 2. So now if you divide x divided by y, so what will be the values? 2.5, right? Let's say I am converting it to int. So this will be 5 divided by 2 equal to 2, correct? If I ignore the decimal part, so what will be the value? It's 2, correct? If you do 5 percentage 2, that is 5 modulo 2, what you will get? 1. So how we get 1? Here is nothing but a reminder of 5 and 2. When you divide 5 divided by 2, what you will get? 2 2 ja 4, right? So what will be the remainder? Is 1, correct? Say if you take 10 percentage 2. So 2 5 ja 10, right? So 10 is done. There is no remainder. So the remainder is 0. 10 percentage 2 will become 0. Say 15 percentage 4. What will be the value? 4 3 ja 12, correct? 4 4 ja 16. But 16 is greater than 15. So you have to stop at 4 3 ja 12 itself. So once 12 gone, what is the remainder left? 15 minus 12. Remainder left is 3. That is the modulo operator. Just to get the remainder of x and y, we use modulo operator. So you learned arithmetic operators including the modulo operator. Now let's see what is assignment operator. So the simple assignment operator, you know, x equal 10. So here equal is assignment operator. Say y equal 20, z equal to x plus y. Here also we have assignment operator. Of course, we have multiple operators here. Though the left side of equal is z and the right side of equal is x plus y. The x plus y itself has again one more operator plus inside it. Now let's see other assignment operators like plus equaled, int equaled, divide equaled. These are actually some special operations. I can say shortcut operation. They are not exactly some operators, but these are like shortcut operators. So what do they mean? Let me give you an example here. I want to increment x by 3. How do you write? X equal to x plus 3, correct? I can also write the same statement x equal to x plus 3 in a shortcut form like x plus equal to 3. What does it mean? This means x equal to x plus 3 only, the same as line 12, but it's a shortcut form. If you are confused about these things, you don't worry. You don't need to write in this form. Whether you write like this or you write like this, ultimate code is same. Nobody is going to ask why you have written like this. Similarly, say I want to decrease y by 2. How do you do that? Y minus 2, correct? I can write in a shortcut form y minus equal to 2, right? This means it's same as y equal to y minus 2. So this is applicable only when you want to increase or decrease or multiply a variable by some other value, right? Similarly, let's say z equal, you can have like 5. This is nothing but z equal to z into 5. Some p divided equal to 2. This is nothing but p equal to p by 2. Okay, I am reviewing this code. Okay, x into equal to, it should multiply x by 3, right? Print x equal to x. Let's see, run the program. Let me clear the screen. You can use CLS. Now the screen is very clear. We can run program. See, x equal 30. Got it? So these are the different types of assignment operators. Now let's learn about operator precedence. What does it mean? Let me write some statement. X equal to 10 plus 2 multiplied by 3. So can you guess what is the output here? So this can be calculated in two ways, right? Let me just put a braces here. So what will be the output of this? 10 plus 2, 12 multiplied by 3. This is 36, correct? And other way, how I can calculate 10 plus, I can multiply these two first. That means 10 is separate plus, and the value of 2 into 3 is 6. So what is the resultant value? 16. How does the Python runtime environment or interpreter calculate this value? So what will be the value of x? Will it be 36 or will it be 16? Suppose if you mention clearly with brackets like this, so it will calculate first 2 into 3, that will be 6, then it will add that 6 to 10, that resultant value will be 16. But if you don't give any braces, how does the Python interpreter calculated this, right? So that's where the operator precedents come into picture. So how many operators we have here? Plus is an operator, multiplication is an operator here, correct? So in any programming language, not just Python, the multiplication operator has higher precedence over plus or minus. Similarly, divided operator has higher precedence over plus or minus. That means since multiplication operator has higher precedence, this statement is evaluated first. Thereafter, it will be converted to 10 plus 6 will become 16. So that is the operator precedence. Clear? Let us print the value of x. So it should be 16 as expected. Let's see. I'm running the program. See, 16. Suppose you want to do 10 plus 2 first and then multiply it by 3. So how do you modify the code? just put a brackets here. First this will be evaluated. After that only the resultant value of this will be multiplied by 3. In this case the resultant value is 36. Let's run our program. See, the value is 36 now. I hope you got it. So far we learned arithmetic operators, assignment operators and operator precedents. We are still yet to learn comparison operators, logical operators and membership operators. I'll cover this after some time once we learn about if-else conditions. Okay. Yeah, the next topic is if-else condition. So how do you write some code if some condition matches, do something, else do something else. Similarly, we can have if some condition, else if some condition, else some other condition. So in this example, if you see, if condition 1 and condition 2 met, go to shopping, else if condition 3 or condition 4 is met, then go to bar. If none of these happens, just sit at home. Okay. Here if you observe the and or inside if condition 1 and condition 2, I told you right in the previous slides, logical operators. So this and or are called logical operators. We'll see how to write them in the code. Okay. And most importantly, please note the colon at the end of the if condition or else. Okay. Don't forget to write the colon at the end. That is the syntax of the programming language we are learning. Now let me clear the previous code. We are going to learn if else condition. Okay. Let's write some code. X equal 10, y equal 20. I want to print something if x equal 10, else print something else. Let me write like this: if x double equaled 10 colon. Please note the syntax here, observe carefully. If both in small letters and there is a space after that, then you can compare x equal 10 or not. Please note it's a double equal. We use a single assignment operator to assign some value to a variable, right? Here like this. But if you want to check whether some variable equal to some other value or variable, then you have to use the comparison operator like this, double equaled. Then enter. As soon as I enter, the cursor automatically started after some indentation. What is indentation here? Indentation is very important in Python programming language, whereas it may not be required in other programming languages, because in other programming languages like Java, JavaScript, C, C++, we have some braces to denote the start of a code block. Say, if x equal 10, I want to write some 5 lines of code, right? In other programming languages, you will be having something like this. This is the start of the code block. This is the end of the code block. You can write whatever you want inside this code block. Okay. The indentation here doesn't matter. What does indentation mean? I am not giving any spaces, tabs are here, right? Anyhow, to make the code beautiful, we use indentation in all the programming languages, but in other programming languages, even though if you don't maintain the indentation, the code still work. But in Python, we do not have such thing like this curly braces start, curly brace end to denote the start and end of the code block that we are going to write if this condition meets. Instead, what we have in Python, we need to write the code block in a next level of indentation. What does it mean? I am going to press a tab here. Okay. From here onwards, I will write the code. Let's say if x equal 10, I want to assign y to 30. Okay. and I'm going to print something. The value of x equaled x. Okay. Here if you observe, if x equal 10, these two lines are in the next level of indentation compared to this line. That means these two lines of code block is going to be executed if this condition satisfies, right? Similarly, after this I want to write else, but I should not start else here, right? It should not be part of this code block. It should be outside of about two lines. That is nothing but it should start at the same level of if. Here else colon, what I am doing is I am assigning y to some 40, then I am going to print the value of y equal y. Got it? If you see the indentation, you can use tabs or spaces, doesn't matter. In my editor, I am using two spaces instead of a single tab. This is convenient to me. It's up to you whether you use tabs or spaces, that doesn't matter, but you have to have proper indentation while writing the code in Python. If you look at this spaces, right, here the tab width is 2. That means 2 spaces I have selected, and here I tick this one, indent using spaces, because I like to indent using spaces instead of tabs. In your case, in your editor, it's up to you, whichever you follow. It doesn't matter whether it's a tab of 4 spaces or 6 spaces, 8 spaces, but you should maintain proper indentation while writing the code. Now, coming to the if condition or else. Here we assigned x 10, we are comparing x equal 10, this true, we are assigning some value 30 to y variable, and then we are printing the value of x here, right? If this condition fails, what will happen? It will go into the else condition. That means this part of code block will be executed. Let us run the code and see. I am going to save this file. Let me clear the screen, cls clear screen, python main.py. See, the value of x equal 10, what is printed here? If you look at the code, since this condition is actually satisfied, that's why this is printed, correct? Suppose I am changing the value of x to some 12 here, okay? What will happen? When this line is going to be executed, is x equal 10? No, right? Because it's 12. So at this point of time, it will go into the else condition of this if. That means we are going to assign some 40 value to y variable, and we are printing this statement. Okay, let's save it and run the program again. See what happened? This time the value of y equal 40 is printed. That means this code block got executed instead of this if, because this condition does not satisfy. Okay, now let me clear this code. Now we will learn how to write if condition, write something, else if condition, write something else, then else, do something. So here, if x equal, please note double equal, don't do mistake, 10, okay, print the value of x is 10. I'm just printing that, okay. Then else if, no, in Python you have to use just elif, that's it. Y equal 20, print the value of y is 20, else colon print neither of the above two cases satisfied. Right? In this case, what we're expecting, we have assigned 12 to x and 20 to y. So if you see the code, if x equal 10, no, right? So this is not going to be executed. Then if this does not satisfy, then we will check the next condition, that is nothing but at line 8, else if y equal 20, yes it is. So we are expecting the program to print this value, okay? Else it will print this one. Let's run the program and see. See, the value of y is 20 is printed here, okay? Now let us change this variable, sum 22. So now what will happen? If x 10, no. Else if y 20, no. So obviously this line should be printed. Let's run the program now. Neither of the above two cases satisfied, that is printed, correct? That's how. You can write as many as if-else conditions possible. It's not restricted to only one or two. You can keep on writing, let's say, if something else, do something, again, else if some p equal 40, so whatever. I'm just writing some dummy code here. So as many conditions as possible you can write. Got it? So now we learned if else condition, the basic thing done. Similarly, you can use other comparison operators. What is the comparison operator we use so far? Double equal. Other comparison operators are like less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal. Suppose if I want to check x greater than y, print x is greater than y. Else if y greater than x, print y is greater than x. Else print dummy stuff. Okay, so here this is also comparison operator, this is also comparison operator, right? Greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, like this you can use. Greater than or equal to, you can use like this. You can explore those things on your own. Next we'll try to cover in operator. Okay, let me remove this code. What is in operator? Say we have some string name equal Suhas. Okay, I want to write a condition if a letter exists in name Suhas or not. What is that letter? Let me write if a in name. Okay, I want to print yes, else print just no. Okay, let me execute this program. See, yes, I told you right in the previous session, in operator, not in operator. So now we covered that operator as well. You can even write not in. So in this case, what should happen? If a not in name, no, right? So this should not be printed. It should go into the else case and should print no. Let's run the program. See, what is printed? No. Correct? We understood in not in operator as well. Correct? This is called membership operator. In operator or not in operator. Okay, good. Now with that we covered all the operators and understood how to write the same in the code. Now let's get into the next topic, string operations. Here we are going to learn some string operations like concatenation, joining two different strings or combining, getting some character at a given index. Okay, then we'll see substring, how to extract a substring from a start index to end index from the given input string. Then we'll check if a string contains a character or not. Okay, let me remove the previous code and let's cover the string operations topic. Let me create a variable like first name Robin, last name Hood. Okay. What is the first thing we are going to learn? How to concatenate two strings. That means joining two strings. Full name equaled first name plus last name. That's it. You just need to use the plus operator to concatenate two strings. Yeah, the plus operator is applicable for adding two numbers, as well as it can be used to join two strings like this. Okay. Now let's print full name called. See here, now I am using plus operator here as well. What is going to happen here? So this is a string, right? This is fixed. This is going to be print like full name equal some space, correct? And the value of full name will be concatenated with this string. Here also concatenation happening. Indirectly this is a string, correct? And this is also string. And here also we are doing a concatenation, and the resultant value will be full name equal to Robin Hood. Then we are printing that. Okay. Here I am going to save it. Let me clear the screen. Okay. What is printed? Robin Hood. Oh, there is no space, correct? So how do we fix it? First name we had. What we are going to do is we are going to add a space in between it. Space. Again plus. Here what we did, first name concatenating with some space, again concatenating with last name. So the resultant value will be Robin space Hood. Correct? Let's save this. Execute the program now. See, this time you had space in between, right? Robin Hood. Okay? This is how string concatenation works. Next we'll see how to get a character at a given index from the string. Okay? Let's say we have name Suhas. Before understanding the index, let me tell you some basic stuff here. Okay? In programming language, the index actually starts from 0, not from 1. So what do you say? Let me get first character. That means S right here. Second character is U. Third character is H. But in programming language, the first one starts with 0. So 0th character is S. First character is U. Second is H. Third is A. In index terms. So if you want to get the character at index 2, what is that? This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. That is nothing but H. Let's get caret index. You can write any variable name, that doesn't matter. So the variable is name here. Use square brackets. Treat it as an array. Inside the array or list, you are going to get a character from index, let's say 2. Here I am writing 2. So the output should be H in our case, because we are starting from 0, not from 1. Please note that in any programming language, the index starts from 0 in an array or list. Correct? Now, let's print caret index 2 equaled. Let me just print this. I'm saving this file. See, caret index 2 equal H. It's printed. Good. Next, we learn how to extract substring from a given string. Let's say we will again write Robin Hood here. Okay. I want to get some substring from this name. So what is the name here? Robin Hood, correct? I want to get these 3 letters bin from the name. How do you get it? This is 0, this is 1, this is index 2. and from index 2 to you need till index 5 to index 2 to 3, then 4. So how do we extract the substring from index 2 to 4? Here we need to write within square bracket start index, that is 2, colon, and the end index. In this case 2, 3, 4, right? We should not give 4, we need to give 5 here because the last index is not included. So this will give the substring from index starting from 2, 3, 4, but not 5 because this is excluded. Now let's print substring equaled. Okay, I'm saving this file. Let's run the program. See, the substring we got as bin, correct? That's how it works. And next we'll see how to use in operator from a string. If say or in name, print or is in name, else print or is in not in name. So this is a membership operator in we are using with a string. If or exists in name, then we will print or is in name, else or is not name. Let's run this program. See what is happened, or is not in name. Surprise, what happened? Or should be name, right? Robinhood. Have you noticed something here? What I have written here? This is I have written this name inside quotes here. That means this itself is a string. The value of this string is NAME, name. So obviously or is not there in this. If I remove this, so what will be considered? The variable name will be considered. So what is the value of the variable name here? Robinhood. If I run the program, save it, now run it, you got it? Or is in the name, correct? I intentionally wrote that inverted commas here so that you can understand easily whether it's a variable name or itself a string. Okay, we are done with the string operations. There are some other string operations as well, but for this tutorial this is enough. You can explore more things on string operations. Okay, our next topic is while for loops. So far what we learned, right? So some if condition, this condition satisfy, run some code, else run some other code. What if you encounter a situation where you need to run same code multiple times in a loop, right? For example, you want to print some Fibonacci series, correct? You need to calculate each number 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. You have to calculate and print in a loop, right? There you need to use loops. In any programming language, we have while and for loops. To achieve that, in Python, we'll see how to use while and for. For example, here you have some count variable initialized to 0. I have statement while and some condition if count less than 3. So inside the while loop, keep increment the value. Count equal count plus 1. So once it is executed first time, initially the count is 0, right? What will happen? Count equals 0 plus 1. It will become 1. It will go again inside the while condition. Now it checks count is less than 3 or not. Yes. Now its value is 1. 1 less than 3. So it will go again inside while loop. It will increment. Count equal to 1 plus 1. This time count will become 2. Count will become 2. Now it will check while condition again, 2 less than 3. Yes, condition satisfied. Again go inside while loop. Now count equal 2 plus 1. Count will become 3. Now it again checks while count less than 3. 3 less than 3? No. Condition is not satisfied. then it will come out of the loop. And after the while loop, the value of the count will be 3. Okay, that is how while loop works. Similarly, for loop, you can use, in this example, there is a string algo trading. What we are doing is here, how many number of A's that algo trading string has. What we are doing, we are initializing some variable number of A's equal to 0. Then using for loop, we are traversing through character by character in the string algo trading, and whenever if the letter equals A, then we are incrementing the number of A's by 1. So in our case, there are 2 occurrences of A in algo trading string, so our output will become 2. Let's see how do we code this. Okay, let's see how we write code for while and for loop in Python. As I explained in the slide, let's initialize some variable count equal 0, while all in small letters, count less than 3, colon. Similar to if condition, here also we have this condition. The comparison operator here is less than. If count less than 3, what we are going to do? We are going to do count equal count plus 1. If you remember, there is shorthand to write this statement like this, count plus equal to 1. This is same as count equal to count plus 1. This is not going to be executed because I put a hash here. So whatever comes after hash will not be executed by the program. Okay, just for information purpose, add this thing. Okay. Now, as explained in the PPT, this while loop will execute 3 times. Count 0 less than 3, yes, it will execute count equal to count plus 1. Then count will become 1, 1 less than 3, yes, it will execute again. Count will become 2, 2 less than 3, yes, it will execute. And next count will become 3 less than 3. Their condition will not be satisfied and it will come out of the loop. That means here. So there you can print count equal to say some value, count value. So what will be the count value? Okay. Let me remove this, otherwise it may confuse you. Okay, this is the code. Let us run it. Okay, Python main.py. See, count is 3. What happened is the while loop executed 3 times. Let's see whether the while loop is actually executing 3 times or not by keeping some prints there. So I'm going to the code again. Print current value of count equal to C. Saving the file, going to run the program. Now Python. See what happened? The while loop executed 3 times. First it was 0. When it was incremented first time, the value became 1. Then the value became 2 second time. Third time it became 3. After third time, the value of count is 3. 3 less than 3. Condition is not satisfied. That's why it came out of the loop. And at the end, we printed the final value of count here. Okay. Now let's see how for loop works. For loop is actually similar to while loop, but you can use in not in operator. Of course, you can use in while loop as well. But for this demo, let's see something, number of A's. Okay. I'm initializing this value to 0 for some variable, letter, anything. For letter in, and go trading, colon, starting in the next line at 14. What I'm going to do is, we'll check how many number of A's present in algo trading string. If this letter equaled A, what I'm going to do is number of A's equal to number of A's plus 1. Then please note the indentation here, we reached another level of indentation here. So the for loop, this entire code is applicable, and for this if condition only this line is applicable, right? Here what is happening when you say this line letter in algo trading, one by one it will go inside the for loop. first letter will be equal to a because you are at this character. Yes, number of a is equal to 0 plus 1, number of a's will become 1. Next it will go to l equal to a, no, right? So in case of no, we are not going to execute this line, so the number of a's will still be 1. Then z, then o, next t, no, again here a. When again letter equal to a, we are going to execute this statement. That will become number of a's plus 1 will become 2. And next will become d, no, is it equal to a, no, and you will be ended at the end. After we're done with g, then the for loop will come out of the loop. Here you can print number of a's equal to number of a's variable name. Let's run the program. See, number of a's equal to, okay. Let me do similar thing. How many d's are there in this? Let me change to d, okay. I'm not changing this variable name, that's okay. See, there is only one letter with d, okay. That's how it works. Okay, we are done with loops, while and for, and the last topic in this video is functions or methods. What is a function actually? Function is actually a reusable block of code that runs only when you call from any part of the program. A function takes some input parameters, process, and it will return some output. So why do we use functions in general? As you keep adding functionalities to your project, the code size will become bigger, right? If you write the entire code within the same file without dividing into modules, it will be very difficult to maintain code as it is keep growing. Functions come into picture where you can segregate your code into sub-modules. That means smaller code blocks. Not only that, many times you need to execute some part of code many times from your program. Okay, if you are executing some part of code so many times, why do you write that part of code every time? Let's say there is 100 lines of code you want to execute 1000 times in a program. So if you don't use functions and if you keep writing the same code 1000 times into 100 lines, it will become 1 lakh lines of code, which is unnecessary, correct? In this case, what you can do is you just move that 100 lines code to some function, and wherever it is necessary in your program, just call that function, right? Your code will still be 100 lines plus, let's say 1000 times you're calling. Each time there is 1 line, so 1000 lines plus this 100 line. That's it. It will not be 1 lakh lines, correct? Let's see a function here, sample addition. This function is taking two input parameters a and b, and this will return the summation of input parameters a and b. If you call this function from your program, say addition of 2, 3, this will return 5. Let's see how to write code using functions. Okay, let's remove the previous code and we'll learn functions. Okay, let's write some 2-3 functions. Yeah, first of all, for writing a function in Python, you need to start with definition. Some function, let's say summation. Okay, it is taking 2 arguments a comma b. You can write any variable names x, y, whatever you want, and colon, and the code inside function should start from the next indentation, right? Just similar to if condition, while loop, etc. But only difference is here we have def space and the function name, the input parameters. Here we are going to write, since this function doesn't have any complicated logic, we can just end in single line, return a plus b. Or let's say you want to do in 2 steps, that's also fine. Let's say sum equal to a plus b. The sum is the local variable to this function. Addition of a plus b will be stored in the sum, and I am returning the sum here. Sorry. Okay. So this function summation will take two parameters a and b. It will sum up and it will return the summation of a plus a and b. Let's write another function def multiplication a comma b colon here mul mul a into b. This is just variable name mul. You can write whatever you want. Okay, I am returning mul. Wait, done. So we have written two functions, summation and multiplication, right? Now we can call these functions as many times as you want. Let's say I'm going to directly use print method. See, this print method itself is a function, right? That is actually library function. Python library is giving us and we are calling. In our case, we create our own function. You can call as custom functions, correct? Let me do x equals some 10, y equal to 20. Now I am storing sum of those two numbers inside variable sum. But I am not going to do any operation here because there is some function already we written and we are going to use that summation x comma y. Okay. So the variable we passed here x comma y. You may surprise here it is a comma b, right? It can be anything, doesn't matter. Generally whatever you pass the values will be passed or the references will be passed and those will be available here. The variable name can be anything here and whatever the values you pass can be anything here. Similarly we have, let's say inside this I am storing multiplication of x comma y, right? We just call those two functions and now printing summation equal to, let's say, sum. Similarly I am going to print multiplication mul. Okay, let's save this file and run it. See, the summation of two numbers 30, 20 and 10 and multiplication 20 into 10, 200 we got. Let's see, I can call this function as many times as I want within just, let's say, step 1. Just I am writing anything you can. I am directly calling function here even without storing inside any variable. Let's say 5 comma 20, right? I'm again calling 15 comma 20. It's 15 comma 30, the same function as many times as you want. 45, 40. Okay, let me call this second time, third time, fourth. Okay. Save the file. I'm going to run this again. Run it. See, 25, 35, 45, 55, right? We don't need to write the code every time, right? That is the advantage of function. Here it's okay. You may say that this is only one line or two lines of code, right? We can write as many times as we want, but in general, this function may have 50 lines, 100 lines, or even 1000 lines of code, right? So when you call this function each time, are you going to write the 1000 lines of code each time? Which is unnecessary, right? And it's not reusable code. So to write a proper code, what we do? We move that common code inside a function and we, by passing a different parameters every time, we are calling that function and we are getting the return value and we are just printing here. Similar to summation, you can call multiplication. Let's say the same thing I am going to do. Let's say 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, whatever. Save the file. I'm going to run it again now. Python. See, step 100, 300, 450, 600. I hope you got how to use functions. Yeah, we'll learn more in coming session. That's not a problem. Yeah, with that we completed this tutorial. Of course, it's a bit lengthy tutorial, but I wanted to cover all the basics in single video. And due to some time constraints, I'm not able to spend regular time on making videos. So I just wanted to complete all the basics in one video. Sorry to be having a big lengthy video, but anyhow, I tried to explain all things in detail. Hope you learned it. It is useful for you. And if you are still watching till this time, you're great. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.